You know, the Earth is full of landscapes that are so strange they look like they belong on another planet. So for today's video, I'm going to count down 15 places on the Earth that look alien. Let's start with number 15, the Richat structure. The Richat structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara, is a massive circular formation in the Sahara Desert of Mauritania. It measures about 25 miles across, and it's so large that it's best appreciated from above. For years, pilots flying over the desert use it as a landmark, and astronauts on the ISS have captured amazing images of the concentric rings. At ground level, the formation is way less obvious. What appears alien from above is, in fact, a deeply eroded geological dome. Scientists initially thought that the Richat structure might have been caused by a meteorite impact, given its circular shape. However, research has shown that it was formed naturally. It is essentially an eroded dome of rock layers, with the harder rock types forming the ridges and the softer ones eroding away more quickly, leaving behind this prominent ring pattern. The area around it is remote and sparsely inhabited, and visiting it requires traveling through rough desert terrain, and the nearest towns are small and far apart. While it doesn't have the bright colors of some otherworldly landscapes, its size, symmetry, and isolation make it a feature that feels completely out of place in this flat expanse of the Sahara. Geologists believe that volcanic activity may have helped push all the rock layers upwards, though the formation itself isn't a volcano. Today, it's a popular subject for aerial photography and satellite imagery, but it is still relatively little known outside geological circles. The scale of it makes it nearly impossible to see it in its entirety from the ground, so most visitors only experience parts of it at a time. This whole area offers insights into Earth's geologic history, with those exposed rock layers revealing a timeline of ancient environments from shallow seas to all the volcanic activity. Number 14. Lençóis Maranhenses National Park. Lençóis Maranhenses National Park in Brazil is a landscape that seems like something from a distant planet. It covers about 1,500 square kilometers, that's about 575 square miles. The white sand dunes here are interspersed with thousands of crystal clear freshwater lagoons. From the air, the scene looks surreal. Endless rolling dunes that were shaped by the wind, punctuated by these blue and green pools of water. Now, despite looking like a desert, it does receive abundant rain between January and June. The sand dunes are impermeable due to a layer of rock beneath the surface, so the rainwater just collects in the valleys between the dunes, forming these lagoons. They can reach depths of about 3 meters, that's about 10 feet, and remain filled for several months before slowly evaporating in the dry season. During the wet season, though, they become home to fish species like the wolffish. They survive the dry months buried in the mud. The colors here, the white sand and vivid blue and green waters, creates a visual contrast, and they change depending on the time of day, the light conditions, and the minerals present in the water. The park is largely undeveloped and accessible only by off-road vehicles or boats along nearby rivers. There's no paved roads within the park, and motorized travel is restricted to protect the delicate environment. It's also a habitat for migratory birds and other wildlife, and the ecosystems here shift dramatically between the wet and dry seasons. Rare hydrological conditions, unique geology, and visual beauty has made this place one of Brazil's most unusual yet memorable landscapes, one that at first glance might just be mistaken for an alien world. Number 13. The Wulingwan Scenic Area. The Wulingwan Scenic Area, located in the Hunan province of China, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's known for its landscape of more than 3,000 narrow sandstone pillars and spires. Many of these formations rise over 200 meters, that's about 660 feet, and they create a surreal, almost science fiction-like scene. Now, while these pillars are entirely natural, the vertical shapes and density of them make them look like an alien forest of stone. The pillars are made primarily of quartz sandstone that formed hundreds of millions of years ago, and over time natural forces, pretty much water and wind erosion, carved away the softer rock layers, leaving behind the hard vertical columns. The whole area's humid, subtropical climate promotes the growth of vegetation, so many of the pillars are topped with these small trees and shrubs, making it look like a freestanding island of greenery suspended above the valleys below. But among the most famous formations here is the Southern Sky Column, which inspired the floating Hallelujah Mountains in the 2009 film Avatar. This connection has brought it international attention, though its striking appearance had long been appreciated by Chinese painters, poets, and travelers. In addition to the pillars, it's home to some deep ravines, caves, waterfalls, and streams, which all contribute to this rich biodiversity. Visitors here can explore a network of trails, cable cars, and glass walkways that allow for amazing views of these formations. And the area is known for this elevated glass bridge over the Zhangjiaye Grand Canyon, which is among the highest and longest of its kind in the world. But despite the growing tourist numbers, conservation here remains a priority. Efforts are in place to limit human impact with strict rules on waste management. This combination of dramatic geology, the misty atmosphere, and the vegetation makes Wulingyuan a place that feels like it belongs to another planet. Number 12. Pamukkale. Pamukkale, which means cotton castle in Turkish, it's a natural site in the southwestern area of Turkey famous for its bright white terraces formed by rich thermal waters. These terraces cascade down the hillside like frozen waterfalls, with warm pools of water collecting in their shallow basins. From a distance, this whiteness and layered formation gives the appearance of an alien ice landscape, despite the area's warm Mediterranean climate. The terraces are made of travertine, that's a type of limestone that was deposited by the flowing water. For thousands of years, calcium carbonate in the water has precipitated out as the water cools and evaporates, which gradually builds up these formations. The water emerges from a natural hot springs at temperatures of around 95 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and it flows down the slopes, maintaining the site's growth and renewal. Pamukkale has been a spa destination since ancient times. The nearby city of Hierapolis, founded by the Phrygians and later developed by the Romans, was built on top of these travertine terraces. The ruins of Hierapolis include a well-preserved theater, necropolis, and a large bath complex that utilize these thermal springs. But because Pamukkale is both a geological and archaeological treasure, it is of course listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. However, tourism in the 20th century caused significant damage to the terraces, with hotels built directly on them and unrestricted bathing eroding these formations. In the late 20th century, Turkish authorities removed the hotels, restricted access, and implemented conservation methods. And visitors today can walk barefoot in designated areas and bathe in specific pools, which helps protect them. The combination here of gleaming white terraces, steaming thermal water, and the ancient ruins above creates a scene that's difficult to find anywhere else on Earth. Under the bright sun, they reflect dazzling shades of blue, making it look less like part of our planet and more like a landscape from another one. Number 11. Fly Geyser. Fly Geyser is located in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada. It's a small but visually striking feature that looks like something grown in an alien lab. Unlike most of the places on this list, Fly Geyser is partly man-made, the result of human activity unintentionally interacting with natural forces. In 1964, a geothermal energy company drilled a test well in the area. They hit hot water, but it wasn't suitable for energy production. This well was left uncapped, and over time, the mineral-rich water began to escape through the opening. As the water cooled, it deposited calcium carbonate and other minerals, which slowly built up around the unusual cone-shaped mound that we see today. Now, what makes it look otherworldly is the colors and the textures. This constant flow of hot water encourages the growth of thermophilic algae, which thrive in these warm, mineral-rich environments. They give the formation bright streaks of red, green, and yellow, which contrast sharply with the surrounding desert. The geyser is relatively small, about 1.5 meters or about 5 feet high from the main mound, but it continuously sprays water, which creates shallow pools around its base that overflow into terraces formed by mineral deposits. The geyser sits on private land owned by the Burning Man Project, which purchased the property in 2016 to protect it from damage and to integrate it into the organization's broader environmental initiatives. Public access is limited, but guided tours are available during certain parts of the year. This limited access has helped preserve the structures, which could be easily damaged by foot traffic or climbing. But from above, the surrounding shallow pools form these abstract patterns, and it adds to the impression of an alien landscape just dropped into the Nevada desert. Number 10. Deadfly. Deadfly. It's located in Namibia's Namib Naukluft National Park. It's a white clay pan surrounded by some of the tallest sand dunes in the world, with an appearance so unusual it's often compared to scenes from science fiction. Now, the name Deadfly, it means dead marsh, and while the area once supported life, it's been dry for centuries. The pan was formed when a nearby river flooded during rare periods of high rainfall, which created shallow pools where the camel thorn trees grow. And over time, sand dunes shifted and blocked the river, cutting off the water. The trees died, but the arid climate prevented them from decomposing. Instead, they've remained standing for around 600 years, the skeletal trunks contrasting with the bright white clay floor and the vivid red-orange of the surrounding dunes. This intense sunlight and dry air have preserved the wood, turning the area into kind of like a natural art installation. The dunes around Deadfly are some of the highest in the world, with several exceeding 300 meters. That's almost 1,000 feet. They're composed of iron-rich sand that gives them that striking color, which deepens to a deep crimson in the low light of sunrise and sunset. The clay pan's surface, the dead trees' dark forms, and the dunes' bright hues create a visual scene that look unreal, even when viewed in person. While the area is inhospitable, it supports a range of desert-adapted wildlife, including oryx, ostriches, and smaller mammals that survive on the limited vegetation and water. Tourists typically visit Deadfly by 4x4 vehicles from the park's entrance, followed by a walk over the dunes. Photography here is, of course, really popular, with the contrast between the elements creating compositions that are instantly recognizable. And for many other visitors, the sense of isolation and silence in Deadfly is as memorable as its visual beauty. It truly feels like stepping onto another planet here. Number 9. The Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. It's located in northern Arizona near the Utah border. It's a huge landscape covering nearly 300,000 acres. Its layered rock formations and swirling patterns of color look almost painted, giving the area an otherworldly quality. The cliffs, buttes, canyons, and plateaus here are the result of millions of years of erosion. The reds, oranges, pinks, and whites of the cliff shift with the angle of the sun, which create a scene that can look entirely different from one hour to the next. But one of the most famous features here within this monument is the wave. This is a sandstone rock formation with a smooth, undulating curve and a sharply defined line that looks almost artificial. The wave has become one of the most photographed natural features in the world, and access to it is restricted by a daily permit lottery system designed to protect the fragile environment. Other areas here include Coyote Buttes, White Pocket, and Pariah Canyon, each with its own distinct landscape. White Pocket, for example, is known for the intricate multicolored swirls of rock, while Pariah Canyon offers miles of narrow, winding slot canyons. This combination of geology, color, and complete lack of any modern development gives the entire monument a remote, almost alien feel. Because of this remoteness, there's no paved roads here within much of the monument. Visiting requires preparation, navigation skills, and in many cases a high clearance or four-wheel drive vehicle. For those who make the trip, Vermilion Cliffs offers a rare chance to see a landscape where nature has been left entirely untouched, looking as strange and beautiful as any imagined world. Number 8. The Rotorua region. The Rotorua region on New Zealand's North Island is one of the most active geothermal areas in the world, known for its steaming vents, bubbling mud pools, and vividly colored hot springs. The area sits within a volcanic zone where magma lies relatively close to the surface, heating underground water and creating a variety of geothermal features. The combination of colors, the constant steam, and the strong smell of sulfur make parts of Rotorua feel like they could belong to another planet. But one of the most famous spots is Waiotapu Thermal Wonderland, a geothermal park where mineral deposits have created pools of almost surreal colors. The Champagne Pool, for example, has deep turquoise water bordered by bright orange deposits of arsenic and antimony sulfides. Nearby, Artist's Palette is a shallow terrace with shifting pools that change color depending on the water flow. The bubbling mud pools constantly spattering hot mud into the air add to this strange atmosphere. Rotorua is also home to Pohutu Geyser. This is the largest active geyser in the southern hemisphere, which can erupt up to 100 feet high. Steam vents are scattered throughout the surrounding countryside, and in some neighborhoods, hot water and geothermal heating are piped directly into homes. This whole interaction between geothermal activity and everyday life here is unique. There are even public parks with steaming lakes and hot springs. For the Maori people, who have lived here for centuries and traditionally use the geothermal waters for cooking, bathing, and heating, visitors can experience both the geological wonder and the rich cultural heritage in the region. While Rotorua's landscapes are entirely natural, the colors, constant activity, and unusual smells make them one of the most convincingly alien places on Earth. Moving on to number 7, the Salar de Uyuni. Located in southwest Bolivia, Salar de Uyuni is the largest salt flat in the world. It covers more than 4,000 square miles. It is a huge, perfectly level surface, creating a scene that's so unusual, it often looks like the surface of another planet. During the dry season, the flats appear like an endless expanse of blindingly white salt hexagons. That's the result of natural crystallization. In the rainy season, a thin layer of water turns the entire area into a giant mirror, reflecting the sky and creating the illusion of walking through the clouds. Now, the whole salt flat sits at an elevation of about 12,000 feet above sea level. It was formed by the evaporation of prehistoric lakes tens of thousands of years ago, and beneath the crust there's massive reserves of lithium-rich brine, making this place one of the most important sources of lithium in the world. The whole area is dotted with these small islands of rock, the most famous being the Inkawasi Island, covered in giant cacti that can grow over 30 feet tall. These rocky outcrops add to this surreal feel of the place and breaking up an otherwise featureless horizon. Despite the harsh conditions, though, the salt flats attract thousands of people each year, particularly photographers drawn to this reflective mirror effect, and this effect is so dramatic it's been used as the backdrop for films and commercials, aiming for a futuristic or even alien atmosphere. Number 6. The Zhangye Danxia Landform Geological Park. Alright, this one's a mouthful. The Zhangye Danxia Landform Geological Park in the Gansu province of China is famous for its vividly colored rock formations that stretch across hills and cliffs. The colors range from deep reds and oranges to yellows, greens, and blues, arranged in stripes and swirls that seem too vibrant to be natural. But this unusual coloring is the result of red sandstone and mineral deposits laid down over 20 million years. Over that time, iron oxide, copper sulfate, and other minerals accumulated in the rock layers, each contributing to a specific color. Those patterns were then revealed by wind and rain erosion, producing a landscape that looks like a massive painted canvas. The formations take on especially vivid tones after rain when the colors are enhanced by moisture. Now, the terrain here varies from smooth, sloping hills to rough cliffs and deep ravines, creating a constantly shifting visual experience. Wooden walkways and viewing platforms have been built to allow tourists to see the most photogenic areas without damaging the landscape, and the best time to visit is sunrise and sunset, of course. While similar layered rock formations can be found in other parts of the world, the combination of the color intensity, the scale, and the accessibility here make it one of the most spectacular. To many people, it's hard to believe that such a vividly colored landscape can exist naturally, lending it an unmistakably alien appearance. Number 5. Cappadocia. Cappadocia, in the central Anatolian plateau in Turkey, is one of those places where geology, history, and humans come together to produce a setting so strange it could easily be mistaken for the surface of another planet. Now, the reputation for looking alien isn't the result of a single feature, but rather a combination of things. Known as fairy chimneys, these are rock formations that are vast as underground cities, and the way human beings have been living here in harmony with them and literally inside of them, this geological wonder has existed for thousands of years. Roughly 60 million years ago, intense volcanic activity began in this part of the world, in what is now central Turkey. Several large volcanoes like Mount Erciyes at 3,900 meters, Mount Hassan at about 3,200 meters, and Mount Melendez erupted repeatedly over hundreds of thousands of years. Now, these eruptions blanketed the whole area with thick layers of ash. Over time, the ash compressed and solidified into a soft, porous rock known as tuff. In some areas, the tuff was then later covered by harder basalt, creating a cap of sorts that protected the softer rock beneath. Now, while the process alone would make Cappadocia remarkable, human beings have transformed the region into something even more distinctive. Because tuff is soft and relatively easy to carve, ancient peoples began hollowing out the fairy chimneys to create homes, storage areas, and places of worship. The earliest evidence of human settlement here dates back to the late Bronze Age, around 1800 to 1200 BCE. They found refuge in the caves and began constructing elaborate rock-cut churches, monasteries, and entire cities. Derinkuyu is the largest known. It extends 18 stories deep underground, and it could house up to 20,000 people along with their livestock. These complexes were not crude either, but sophisticated, self-sustaining environments with communal kitchens, wells, ventilation shafts, wine cellars, and defensive features. Above ground, though, there's an open-air museum that preserves dozens of rock-cut churches and chapels, many of which date to the 10th and 12th centuries. These churches are adorned with frescoes depicting biblical scenes, saints, and symbolic Christian imagery. Cappadocia's valleys like Pigeon Valley, Rose Valley, Love Valley, Ilara Valley each display unique variations of the fairy chimneys and these rock formations. But the names often reflect the shapes or colors found there. Love Valley, for example, is filled with tall, phallic-shaped chimneys, while Rose Valley is known for the pinkish hue of the rocks. In the modern era, Cappadocia has become one of Turkey's premier tourist destinations. From above the patterns of erosion, the clusters of rock spires, and the patchwork of valleys and cliffs form a scene that feels ancient and surreal. Walking through Cappadocia's valleys past rock spires capped with stone hats, through carved churches adorned with centuries-old frescoes, and down into underground cities that once held thousands, one has the uncanny feeling of stepping into a place that belongs as much to imagination as to the Earth. Yet every part of it is real, grounded in the planet's natural human history. Number 4. Mount Roraima. Mount Roraima is one of the most dramatic alien natural formations on Earth. It's a massive flat-top mountain, or tepui, that rises from the surrounding rainforest, straddling the borders of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. The summit is about 9,200 feet above sea level, and the cliffs go as high as 1,300 feet straight up from the ground. They make it look like a colossal stone table that was just dropped into the jungle. These tepuis are relics of immense age, with rock dating back nearly 2 billion years to the Precambrian era. These are remnants of once continuous sandstone plateau that stretched across what is now the Guyana Shield. Mount Roraima is the tallest of this chain of tepuis, and it's notable for its size, isolation, and ease relative to other tepuis of reaching the summit. While most tepuis have vertical cliffs on all sides, this one has a natural ramp on the Venezuela side. The sloping flank allows people to reach the top without any technical climbing, though the journey is still pretty physically demanding and it takes several days. The weather here is often cool and wet, with clouds frequently enveloping the plateau. Rainwater drains off the summit in these amazing waterfalls, some of which drop hundreds of meters into the jungle. Carnivorous plants like pitcher plants and sundews are common here, capturing and digesting insects to supplement their nutrients. Mosses, lichens, and small shrubs cling to the rocks too, while sheltered in depressions, rare flower plants bloom. The isolation of these tepuis have made them a focus for biologists studying evolution, much like the Galapagos Islands. Mount Roraima also holds some cultural significance. For the indigenous Pemon and Capon peoples, the mountain is sacred. In Pemon mythology, it's the stump of a giant tree that once held all the fruits and vegetables in the world. When the tree was felled, the trunk fell to the ground, creating the tepuis, releasing the bounty to the earth. But because Roraima sits at the intersection of 3 countries, it's a conservation area that's shared responsibility. The Venezuela side lies within a national park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which offers some protection against development. Still though, increasing tourism poses some challenges to the environment here. This is a place where the Earth feels unfamiliar. Isolated plateaus, unique life forms, and a constant shroud of mist give the impression of a lost fragment of another world. A fragment that's been sitting quietly in the clouds for millions of years, waiting to be discovered. Number 3. The White Desert. The White Desert, known in Arabic as Sahara el-Baida, is one of the most visually surreal landscapes in the world and a striking example of how natural forces can sculpt a place into something that looks entirely unearthly. It's located about 45 kilometers north of Fafafra in Egypt's western desert. This expanse is famous for its massive, ghostly white rock formations that rise abruptly from the flat golden sands. Now, this whiteness comes from chalk and limestone deposits that were laid down during the Cretaceous period around 80 million years ago. When this area was submerged under a huge sea over millions of years, the accumulation of marine sediments, composed mainly of the calcium carbonate, built up into thick layers of chalk. The layers hardened, but not so much as they became resistant to erosion, and as the sea retreated, the land was uplifted. These deposits were then exposed to the atmosphere, where wind and occasional rain began to sculpt them. Wind here is the chief sculptor. The region's persistent desert winds carry sand particles that act like sandpaper, which slowly erodes the chalk into a variety of shapes. Some formations resemble giant mushrooms, others look like bizarre abstract sculptures, and a few bear uncanny similarities to recognizable animals or objects. There's even one that's referred to as the chicken and the mushroom because of its distinct form. These shapes aren't carved overnight, but the results of thousands, even tens of thousands of years of steady abrasion. The White Desert is part of the Farafra Depression. It's one of several large depressions in Egypt's western desert and sits within the boundaries of the White Desert National Park, established in 2002. Human presence here goes back thousands of years. Evidence of trade routes, stone tools, and small archaeological sites indicate that nomadic peoples have long crossed this region. There's a town there with a small, thriving community, with agriculture supported by the underground aquifers tapped through artesian wells. Date palms, olives, and other crops do grow here, which is a contrast to the barrenness of the surrounding desert. Many visitors come on guided desert safaris, often in 4x4s that can travel over the soft sand. Visitors will sleep in tents or sometimes in the open amid the towering white sculptures, with meals cooked over campfires and the silence of the desert broken only by the wind. One of the more dramatic aspects of the White Desert is its contrast with the surrounding Black Desert located to the north. There, the landscape is dominated by volcanic hills and dark basalt rock, the complete opposite of the bleached expanse in the White Desert. The proximity of these two different landscapes adds to the surreal quality of the region, as though one is moving between different planets in the span of a short drive. The Egyptian government has made efforts to preserve the area, but the White Desert does face challenges, common to many delicate natural sites. The increasing number of people can lead to damage, especially when vehicles drive too close to formations. Park rangers work to enforce the rules to protect the most fragile areas, but in such a huge and remote place, monitoring every person is difficult. Responsible tourism is key to ensuring that the White Desert retains its unique beauty for generations. Number 1. Lake Hillier. Lake Hillier, located on Middle Island in Western Australia, is one of the most strikingly natural sights on Earth. But what makes it stand out from every other lake in the region is its vivid bubblegum pink color, a hue so bright and uniform that from above it looks like someone's poured paint into the lake. Yet the color is entirely natural, and while scientists have studied it for decades, the exact mechanisms behind it remain the subject of research. Middle Island, where Lake Hillier is found, is the largest of over 100 islands in an archipelago situated off the coast of Western Australia. This island is uninhabited and access is restricted to protect it. Most visitors see it from the air during scenic flights that depart from the nearby towns. This aerial perspective is the best way to appreciate this sharp contrast between the pink water and the narrow strip of white sandy beach. Now, the lake is relatively small compared to other notable lakes, measuring about 600 meters in length and roughly 250 meters in width, with an area of just under 20 acres. Scientific research has suggested the lake's coloration is primarily due to the presence of a specific microalgae known as Dunaliella salina. These microorganisms produce carotenoid pigments, particularly beta-carotene, as part of their natural process, especially when they're exposed to high levels of light and salt. The high salinity here means that it supports only specialized life forms adapted to these extreme conditions. Fish can't survive here, but the microorganisms that do live in the lake are of great interest to scientists studying extremophiles. Such research can offer insights into the possibilities for life in extreme environments elsewhere on Earth and potentially on other planets. Lake Hillier is often compared to other pink lakes around the world, like Lake Retba in Senegal or the Hutt Lagoon, also in Western Australia. However, what sets Lake Hillier apart is the stability of the color. While pink lakes may shift between red, orange, and pink depending on the environmental conditions, Lake Hillier remains a consistent bubblegum pink regardless of the temperature, rainfall, or season. From a visual standpoint, the lake is a rare case where reality exceeds the expectations set by photographs. Even for those who know the science behind it, the sight of such vividly pink water in a natural setting can feel almost impossible. This is what gives the lake its alien quality. Your mind is conditioned to expect water to be blue, green, maybe brown, but not bright pink, especially not in a setting as wild and untouched as this. Standing on the shore, if you were among the few granted permission to visit, the experience would be serene and surreal. The still pink water contrasts with the sound of the ocean waves crashing on the nearby beach. The air carries the scent of salt and eucalyptus, and the brightness of the lake seems almost to radiate against the muted greens of the surroundings. It's a scene that feels at once peaceful and completely unlike any ordinary place on Earth.